one. And if by magic, let's just have a look. Let's drop this down. And you know what, Joe? We may just be live. Let's have a quick look. By Jove, I think we are. Hello, world. It's been a while. So welcome to Sifu and Doc's Ponderings. So before we do out of the blue, I was supposed to be doing a show with the wonderful Shanine, but Sifu Finn had other ideas. Her little baby boy, he's a little, you know, I think he's a little bit poorly at the moment, so she had to look after him. So me and the wonderful Doc thought we'd come together and have a bit of a rock in our frock.
Yeah. Yes, I'm just finding out. I'm going to share this on my page. Just doing that now.
Yeah, cool. And so I'll quickly say while you're doing your sharing bit, and then I'll do it my side. So my name's Sifu Boggie. Sifu means guide, and somebody points you along the way, who guides you on your path. And for the last 38 years, yes, I did say 38, I am old. For the last 38 years, I have been studying the Taoist arts. The Tao means the way, the path, the balance. And I've been studying things like Tai Chi, Qigong, Tit Ta, easy, Tui Na, Chinese massage, acupressure, many other techniques. And I've been studying them under the guise of the Barefoot Doctor, who traditionally, actually a lot of them were women, and traditionally they went from village to village looking after people, and they would heal you, but more importantly they'd teach you to heal yourself. And then the Dragon Dog Shaman, which sort of did the same thing, but Barefoot Doctor did it very physically and went into energy work. The Dragon Dog Shaman did it far more in a magical way, but to Dragon Dog Shaman, magic is purely science not yet understood, and sort of that's what I do. So I help people help help themselves, give them the techniques, the tricks, the tools, and sometimes I even speak English to help themselves and help them find their own personal way, path, or Tao. So who are you, Doc? What are you? Who are you? What's your name?
From one moment to the next, Sifu, I don't know who I am. I just go with the flow, open up, and I allow the universe to work me or work through me. But before that, I did a few qualifications and stuff. You know, I'm basically a biomedical scientist at heart. And then I went on my journey for 10 years in the dark and found out a lot about life and lots of other things. And then I came back, and as you do, I woke up one morning and I thought I better do a PhD about my journey. So I ended up doing a PhD in medicine. And basically what my PhD was about is how your mind affects your body, especially at the level of the heart, and how your heart affects your mind. So really what I've found out is that if you change the way you breathe, you change the way your heart works. If you change the way your heart works, you'll change the way your head works, and you can use it for positive benefit and to make cleaner choices in life. So basically it's turning modern medicine upside down and going back to ancient ways where we can hack our physiology to change our psychology to improve our life and our quality of life. How does that sound?
What he said.
I forgot to say, I call myself a consultant in psycho, neuro, endocrino, immunohematology. And what that means is everything's connected, and we are what we think we are, even though we don't think we are. There we are.
There we are. Lots of ours. But yeah, no. And you know, it doesn't matter. Yeah, the whole point is understand. You know, the thing I love lots of things about you, Doc, because you're my brother from another mother, and also you're my brother from several lives, but that's another story for another time. Yeah, you have, since I've known you, you very much talk about the heart, and it's about focusing on what you feel in the heart and listening to your heart. And I you know, it's that great thing of waking up in the morning and going, okay, what we're going to do, you know, what direction we're going to do. And that is very going with the flow. That's very like a leaf blowing in the wind, you know, is that, and the thing, or Taoistically, they talk about being a reef in the wind, being in Tai Chi as well. In Tai Chi, they talk about making your movements like a reef in the wind. So like a reef, as the wind blows, you know, it moves and goes with it. Now, if you're an old tree and the wind blows, you know, you try to match it, but if the wind really blows hard, you'll lose a branch, or, you know, or you could break altogether. So the old ancient ways and the Taoist philosophy was, the more you can relax and go with the flow, and the more you go with the flow, the more you'll build up your energy, but the more you adapt to the situation. When you fight against it, and people like sort of, oh, you've got to fight against the system, you've got to, you know, you've got to fight to do this, you've got to get up in the morning and take on the world. It's like, but you're all that fighting, you're going to, you know, pardon my French, you're going to knacker yourself out. You're going to wear out your energy. And as a barefoot doctor, we say is that every muscle that's turned on, so every little bit of tension in your body, whether it's in your muscles, in your tendons, even in your organs, every muscle that's turned on or everything that's tense is draining energy. So if I hold my fist here for a long time, you know, the longer I hold it, the more tired it's going to actually make me. If I stand like this for an hour and then try to open my hand, my muscles have all spasmed up, and it will be really hard for me to open up, but I'm actually making myself tired. And so when you're aching and your muscles are aching, and you say, oh, I feel so tired, I feel so drained. Well, I'm not surprised. You know, if you were a house or a flat, you've left every light on in the house, you've turned on every single freaking heater, you've got the washing machine on, you've got the cooker on, you've got the tumble dryer on, you've got everything turned up, and you then wonder why you get a £5 billion phone bill, or the £5 billion lecky bill, electricity bill. You're using a lot of energy. And so this letting go actually allows you to, you know, to move forwards. Right, Mike, your turn.
Brilliant. I couldn't agree. I concur with everything that you've just said. I might say it in a different way. Chronic muscle tension is prevalent in our society. And most of the chronic muscle tension that we hold within us are based on old conditionings and programs of defensive responses from childhood, you know. And once I found this out and started to let go of them, right, I also had to overcome my childhood fears, because, as you know, the more you relax, the more the things that we've held down, the suppressed and repressed emotions, start to emerge. Now, if you open your heart and allow these repressed emotions to be transformed through the heart, you actually, as you know, gain more energy in that transformation process. So not only does the tension release, the energy comes back online, because it's been condensed for many, many years. So it's got the power of a nuclear reactor. You know, we can then use that in a special way in order to transform and ascend, if you like, to higher levels of consciousness. This all sounds very technical tonight. This is a spontaneous thing. We've just met after the first time for ages, but I see more and more people letting go now and trusting something deep within themselves. And I believe that as you open your heart, you gain access to your heart of hearts, which to me is your soul. And the more that you listen and allow yourself to be navigated through the life by the soul, the more enjoyable your life becomes. And not only that, the more self-worth and self-reliance you gain as well, which helps you to stand back on your own 2 feet, helps you to become more grounded so that you can go higher in your consciousness. How does that sound? I thought we should tape this and sell it for loads of money.
We should, I said to you about something else, is that if I actually was in for it for the money, I'd probably make quite a bit, you know, selling all stuff like this. But there's 2 things, you know. Yeah, you're spot on, and that also is the thing with like you, me, the wonderful Todd Medina, that geezer, Shanine. That we say very similar stuff, just in different ways, and that's important. And it's important because you know, for me, Taoistically, I always say there is no right, there is no wrong, just is that, you know, the way Doc says it will open, you know, certain people will understand it better than the way I say it. But it's not just that, is that you and I can say exactly the same thing with a slight twist, and that slight twist could be the thing that somebody needs to go boom, oh my god. And it's the whole point. So for me, I said 38 years I've been studying all these different arts, and we're British, you know, and there was this big thing of jack of all trades. Oh, you're a jack of all trades and a master of none. And it's like, well, that saying, I actually learned where that saying comes from, and it's not actually how it is. A jack of all trades becomes the master of one when they understand, when they open up to all knowledge. So it's the whole point is that learning all these different things, because the samurai and the Taoists would learn lots of different things to open up. And so this thing of letting go and going with the flow, when you're restricting yourself, think, oh, I've got to do it this way. It's got to be like this. It's got to look like this. It'll flip on the head. And actually, it's not just come to me, Doc, is that actually I sort of said something earlier about, because of COVID, because of this thing, a lot of companies have flipped. Everything's gone online and changed in a different way. And it's like nature's made us go with the flow, because you suddenly had it used to be that, oh, you know, people would say, oh no, you've got to do it this way. Businesses, the idea, if you said to a business, oh, I want to work from home, they'd laugh at you and give you your P45 or whatever it is in America. You know, they'll probably kick you out the door. But now I know there's a lot of businesses actually loving the idea of people being at home, because it's not costing them in office space. It's because people are on different times, it actually covers more stuff. So this adaptability, actually allowing yourself, I'm hoping in a positive way, that what's happened to us in the world will actually make us more adaptable, but actually allow us to, I'm hoping, to find another way. Not in fear. I don't want us to be in fear. I don't want us to have to wear freaking masks for the rest of eternity. Or if I'm going to have to wear a mask, I'm getting an LCD. I'm getting one of those LCD ones that lights up with big teeth. You know, if I'm going to have to wear a mask, Boggie's going to wear a scary one. Though I look scary whatever I wear, apparently, but anyway, but yeah, if this makes us more adaptable, if we learn to twist and turn, if we learn that we need to open up, if it helps us get out of that rat race that we were in, even just a little bit, I think it's a good thing. And I truly believe everything can be good if you make it, what you focus on grows, and what you believe is true. Epigenetics talks about this. Quantum physics is that the observer affects the experiment, the placebo, the nocebos, all talking about, if you're positive, you'll get a more positive result, but if you're negative, you get a more negative result. And that's what the placebo nocebo talked about, is that it's actually the same. Well, whether you go positive or negative, the actual percentage is exactly the same. The belief system uses the same belief system. It's just that the intent of your emotions changes. Over to you, Doc.
Fantastic. Yes, placebo, nocebo. Placebo, I will heal, or I will help you, I will please you. Nocebo, I will harm. And that's what I do now. It's not good and bad, it's healthy or harmful. And most people know that if they ask themselves at a deep level, is this healthy for me or is it harmful? I think intuitively most people, if they're honest, would know what to choose. Now, when they choose what they choose, then they have to accept the consequences of the choice that they make. That, to me, Boggie, is called sovereignty. It's to be able to use your free will choice, but having the responsibility to accept the consequences of that choice. Because for all my life, until I started to realize, I blamed outside of myself for the positions I found myself in, until I realized, and that was a big realization, that I am responsible for everything that happens to me, both consciously and unconsciously. And I can see that unconsciously, I was creating a life and I didn't understand why these things were happening until I started to learn. And as you know, I became very ill. I tried to do myself in. I spent years and years trying to drink myself to death, you know, until somebody basically guided me to say, Joe, you are the creator of your own reality. And I wanted to keep hold of, no, but look what they've done to me. And he said to me, no, it's what you've allowed to happen to yourself that's caused your reality, nothing else. And it hit me like a sledgehammer. And from that point, I accepted what was being said to me, and I accepted responsibility for my own life. And at that point, Boggie, I grew up. I started to grow every single day. It's almost like a great big light went on. And before I take actions now, although a lot of the time what I do is spontaneous, it just comes through me. But sometimes there are times when I have to deeply reflect on things if I'm not sure what to do. And I put it on the back burner in my heart. And I don't do anything until something clear comes up when I can know what to do then. You know, so I'm learning as I'm going. You know, I don't know much. You know, I've learned a bit about myself, right? What anybody else should do is none of my business, really. People say to me, what do you think I should do? Before, I used to give them a whole list of, yes, if you do this, this will happen and all that. So I was like the savior of everybody else except myself, you know what I mean? But what happened was, if some advice I gave to somebody turned out wrong, they would blame me then, you see. And that's what tends to happen in medicine. We go along and we ask the doctor, what shall I do? They prescribe us some medication or some sort of behavior. And when it doesn't work, we blame the doctor, you see. And I know now that I'm to blame, not blame, but I am responsible for everything I do, everything. Because I honestly believe that the soul projects the next lesson that we need to learn. It almost arranges all the theater and all the environmental conditions for us to learn our next step in the progression of the soul's journey. Good God, this is deep tonight. Oh, over to you, boss.
If it was any deeper, it would be in Australia, mate. It's all good. It's all good. But and see the well. So for me, sovereignty. So the Taoists talk about take responsibility like an adult, but play like a child. So go with the flow, have fun, you know, take the mickey out yourself, you know, don't take yourself or anybody else too seriously, and enjoy life, appreciate life, but whatever you do, that's your responsibility. Even to the fact that, you know, that doc could call me a big-eared twat. How I react to it is up to me. I could get upset. If I get upset, that's my responsibility. That's not his responsibility. You know, his what he said is only words. He didn't say it. He didn't say it. I said it. But what he, you know,
I didn't know you could mind read.
Hey, I used to be a Toby jug, but I'm all right now. But actually, anybody in America, just look up Toby jug and you'll see what we're talking about. But but you know what? See, this was a big realization for me, because as a kid, like you. Well, when I was a kid, big ears, always been very lovable, but always been a bit different. I've always seen things outside the box, which put me very much in the weird bracket. And I was bullied and picked on. And to me, the world was a horrible, crazy, you know, I just wanted to love everybody and be nice to everybody. And the world seemed so mean. And I like you, from my parents split up when I was about 9. And so around about, I think it was about 10, 11, 12. I tried to commit suicide. I more than once, a couple of times. Did it one way, found that doesn't work, looked up how to do it, and then tried that way. Even tried hanging myself with a coat hanger. And a bully that bullied me at school actually found me and saved me. How freaking ironic is that one? But I got to this point where it's like, for me, it was, you're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. And it was a realization for me was that, you know, I started first. So firstly, I went through that. And for a while I went through this, like, almost like, if anybody has ever seen Lethal Weapon, I went through he you know, he would do crazy things because he didn't care. And for a long time, to be honest, I went into martial arts, and I was, you know, did the qigong stuff, but I was still in this slightly crazy, well, this is where a bit of where Boggie comes from, this crazy psycho where, don't tell Boggie to jump out of a plane, because before you finish the sentence, he'll already be out. Let's try it. What's the worst that can happen? And it didn't help that also that time I was starting to realize for me, I was seeing past lives. I was seeing other lives, and and it was like, well, if we live and die over and over again, what's the worst that will happen? I die. That's the end of this one, and I start again. So I went through this very chaotic stage of being this very wild, crazy thing, and so I was very like explosive on the outside, but on the inside I was still hurting. I'd actually created this hurricane on the outside, and nobody could get into the center. Nobody could get to me in the center, even though it was calm. I was on my own. That the boggy wildness was so intense that people couldn't actually get through, and it took me a long time to actually bring that back round, to find my inner calm, to realize that yes, well, when people are what they are, it's up to you how you react to that. So when somebody says, "Oh, you big-eared twat," it is how you react to it is down to you. It's your how you actually take that and react to it. So when life throws stuff at you, what's the old, when, pardon my French, ladies and gentlemen, when life throws shit at you, turn it into manure. Use it for your flowers. And that's the thing, is that realizing that if things come at you, it's up to you whether that is whether you learn from it or not. If you don't learn from it, it tends to repeat itself. It tends to come back. And my own personal life and in other people's lives, I've seen this, where they're ignoring a certain issue, a certain fact, and it'll keep coming back in another form by another person. It'll come back, and people say, "Why does this keep happening to me?" Or why do I keep getting the same sort of person? And it was the realization of, because you keep choosing them, because you haven't learned yet, because you haven't, you've got to change your point of view. But the big thing, so with the barefoot doctors, everything was on the outside working in. With the dragon dog shaman, they knew it was the inside working out, and the cloud whisperers knew that if you want to affect the outside world, you work on the inside world. So this thing, like a lot of people know now, Ho'oponopono, oh no, I'm sorry, I love you, please give me thank you. And it's about working inside. When you chant or meditate or do qigong or all of the or yoga or all of the above, when you start working on your inner side, it will, in one way or another, whether you do it in a psychological, like, oh yes, it's this, this, and this, or you just let it happen, whichever way you let it be. But when you go down that route, it happens naturally. And that's the thing for me with qigong and neigong, which is Taoist yoga, and shengong, which is meditation. When you practice these practices, don't focus on the intellectual stuff, just do the practices, and the intellectual stuff actually sorts itself out. So, because upset psychologists maybe, but rather than go to a psychologist and well, it's this and this, and you've got to do this, you've got to do that, if you just go with the flow, like Doc says, and just let shit out and just go with it and do things and do a bit of this and do a little bit of that and find your own personal balance, all that stuff that you went to somebody else to try to sort out, you'll sort it out in you on your own. In a certain, I'm not saying don't get asked for help, but listen to your intuition, listen to your divine providence, listen to your heart, because listening to your heart and opening up, that helps you. And one final thing, then I'll shut up, is that all my friends would like say, Boggie, can I give you some advice? And I go, sure. And so, I think you should do this. I think you should do that. And through all the years, they say, Boggie, you never listened to what you didn't do what I said. And I said, yes, because if I did what you said and it wasn't right, I can't blame I can't blame you. Well, or I want to blame you because you told me. But if I don't agree with it myself, how can I do it? Is my point. And so I've always said, right or wrong, I always do what I feel is right, and I feel even when it's wrong, it's still right in the essence of that. Even if you do things and it doesn't appear to be right at first, maybe that's because you're learning something else. You're still not seeing the vision clearly. You're still not seeing things clearly. You need to adapt it and change it. That's why Taoistically, I always say there is no right or wrong. There just is that the all roads lead to Rome. Whether you go the long way round or the short way, well, that's your choice. But all roads technically lead to Rome.
Good grief. I agree.
Oh my God!
What's
going on?
It's like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't look at the finger, right? So if you're pointing the finger, right, there's three coming back at you, because as Bruce would say, it's all about feelings. It's all about feelings. As you know, I'm getting round to writing a book called The F-Off Approach to Health and Happiness. And F-Off stands for Focus on Feelings First, right? But I didn't know that because I was brought up in an environment where the more I read and the more I filled my head with this intellectual stuff, that would bring me guaranteed success in life. It never. It brought me to the brink of my death because I was always looking externally for the answers. I was always expecting and I was never inspecting, right? And I know now, and what I try and help people with is people come and ask me, what shall I do? I help them to take their head off, turn it the other way around and look inwards to their heart. Because as far as, and this is metaphor for what's really going on, because these are deep, deep levels, different dimensions of consciousness, but start looking inwards rather than looking outwards for answers. And how do you do that? You have to feel your way through it, not think your way through it, because the head always wants to come in. Well, explain to me first what will happen if I do this. No, right? Just go in there, breathe in this certain way, and open up your heart. What do you mean by open up? Shut up, shut up. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Just put your hands on your heart. Breathe in a beautiful, calm, lovely feeling. Collect all the stress and tension and breathe it all the way out. And as you breathe out, allow your shoulders to relax and drop deeper and deeper. Breathe in a beautiful, lovely, calm, warm feeling all the way in. Collect all the crap and breathe it all the way out. And in that way, you'll create more space in your heart. You'll start to get intuitions, inspirations, and ideas that you'd never even thought about before. They are the guiding forces for your new life. And I'm being really seriously honest now. If your customers and your viewers can listen to this, this is what saved my life. It's this. You put your hands on your heart like that. If you're like doves and angels, put your hands on your heart, just press in very gently. If you're into Kundalini yoga, you can do a prayer one where you just put your knuckles in and put them into your heart. Yeah. And that will then focus your intention on this feeling at your heart. And then breathe in and out at that point. And as you breathe out, allow yourself to relax deeper and deeper and deeper. And as you get more into this, it almost like becomes a sacred practice where you start to touch something deep in you that's much more powerful than your ego, much more connected than your ego, and much more wise than your ego. And to me, Boggie, that's where all the answers to all your problems lay. Yeah. And really, you can't find out what to do unless you break away from the lunacy that's going on. Find a quiet place to just sit and breathe and become aware of your breathing. Boggie, it saved me life. It's so simple. You don't need to know anything else other than that what you're looking for is in your heart. How do you get there? By just breathing in and opening the heart. And here's the hard part. Develop a dialogue with the deepest part of who you are. And how do you do that? You say, will you please show me? Because I don't know what to do. And that's what saved me life. And from that moment when I was shown this technique, I've never needed to go and ask anybody else advice. Don't get me wrong. I listen and watch everything that's going on because synchronicities come in. Somebody might say something, I might hear it on the radio. And when I get that little ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling feeling, it's almost my intuition to say, Joe, pay attention to this bit now because it will help you. Yeah. There you are, sir. Over to you.
Okay, cool.
Advantage doc.
Well, there's a couple of things. I mean, Boggie's mind is, do you remember Madness? The group Madness?
My girl's mad at me.
Yeah, mad at me. And also Wings of a Dove. And they're whoa, whoa, bum, bum, and the wings of a dove. And they say, like Boggie's on his own again. Boggie's off his own.
That sounded more like Celine Dion or Celine Dion, that there.
No, I do not sound like Celine Dion. But then who said I never said I could sing. But this whole, well, there's two things there. There was the Buddhist monks said, how do I connect with the universal, with Buddha, and they did this, and apparently it was a Christian. It was a what was it called? What was the people that they used to
missionary?
Thank you. A Christian missionary that was very confused and said, "Oh, you're Christian." And so, well, actually, the information is that connecting the masculine and the feminine sides of the body to the heart. So, and we think, oh, this is praying to God. So, no, it's not actually about talking out there. It's about the God in here. It's about listening and connecting to here. And when we do this symbol is actually the Sacred Heart. When you see the Sacred Heart symbol, the little cross, it actually has little, and it's actually the hands connecting, and then it's shaping of the heart, and the cross is that connecting to the divine love of the heart. It's connecting to that Sacred Heart. So the prayer is actually about listening within. It's about, rather than looking out on the outside, it's looking on the inside and listening inside. And like you say, those listening for those, the synchronicities, the tingles, the very much the ancient knowledge said, when your heart, when you want to listen to the angel and the devil, or the monkey mind, the ego, and the Taoist thought or Buddhist thought or the angel, they talk about sitting on your shoulder, where actually the intuition, the angel is in your heart and the devil is in your forebrain. Is that we know in psychology, we know that 60 to 90,000 thoughts are flying around in your head every single day. That's what, depending on who you listen to. And so the forebrain is, we're thinking about this and thinking about that and trying to work things out. And we should be listening down here. Is listening. And in Tai Chi, they actually talk about thinking or listening, bring your attention to your belly. And the reason they're talking about that is because what they're actually talking about is drawing your diaphragm all the way down. So breathing the belly, drawing the diaphragm down. And when you're breathing from the belly or pulling the diaphragm fully, you're getting a full intake of air. You're fully immersing yourself in your body. And when you're pulling down there, then this up here goes to here. So when you're pulling the belly down, your intent goes to your heart. That's what's actually happening. So you're listening in the right place. You're actually listening to the heart. And when you listen from the heart, when things expand, that's normally a yes, that's a positive thing. But if you start feeling fear or sinking, maybe that's not so much a good thing to do for now. Remember, there is no good or bad as such, but it's about listening to what's right for you. And remember, it's what's right for you, not what's right for everybody else, not even what's right for me and Doc. Listening to what's right for you. And this is the wonderful thing in Qigong. This is why the billions of Qigong exercises, because which one works for you right now? That one, this one that makes you feel better and lighter and that pain sort of gone. Well, that one works now. Some people say, but it's not working. No, it's not working. That's the wrong one for today. You've got to use another one, learn another one. And that's the whole point of Tai Chi, which is lots of exercises. So the whole idea is a bit like a buffet. Is that you're bound to find something you like in the buffet. So if you do lots of different exercises in Tai Chi, is that one of them will be what you need right now. And it's just this whole thing of exercise are just metaphors of helping you expand your consciousness, helping you of letting go of what you no longer need and letting in what you do need, letting in more light, more consciousness. And it's this thing of we've got to, our society sort of makes you think you've got to do things in a certain way, and you've got to be a certain way, and you've got to do it like this and be like that. And the truth is you've got to be you, and you've got to be happy with you and go your way. I mean, this comes up a lot, is that notoriously known for when I wait for Sifu Bazchilia, one of my students who's now his own Sifu himself, but when he comes to pick me up, he goes, "Oh, bloody hell, Boggie, you always do Qigong or Bakwa or Tai Chi in the middle of a train station." It's like, aren't you worried? It's like, what should I care? I don't care what they think. That's got nothing to do with me. Why am I doing it? Because it makes me feel good.
Exactly.
I don't care whether they're whatever they think. That's their problem. That's not my problem. It's only my problem when I take it on, when I start taking it on board. And the biggest thing as empathic, and as a kid I was always thinking about other people, or because I could hear sometimes the whispers and he's got big ears, or there was the movie well, the character, "Hey you guys," Goonies, the movie Goonies. A lot of people thought I looked like him, and they would say, and say that saying. And for a long time, that haunted me. A long time, every time I heard it, or every time I heard a laugh behind my back, I was, on one ready to, to attack. And it's like, I was just like those muscles. I was wasting energy on running about trying to, I'm being bullied, and it's like, at the end they're only bullying you if you let them. You're only bullying you if you accept what's going on. If you actually learn to let it go and find a way around it. And I used to use humor a lot. Why I am a bit of a comedian, apparently, some say, is because I found humor is the best form of defense. Is that if I could make other people laugh, they forget about that situation. And I used it a lot in close protection as a doorman. As when things were getting a bit hairy, I'd start taking the mickey over out of myself, because I learned for a long time, taking the mickey out of myself. If I can take the mickey out myself better than anybody else, nobody can ever hurt me. And so I used that a lot. I would take them in, and then eventually I dropped that, because it was that you're just pointing it inwards. And the whole idea is that use humor, if it helps. But the whole things can only affect you if you let them affect you. But things can only change if you let them change. And so when faced with traumas, or when things come along, anything that triggers you, this is a big one. Anything that triggers you is giving you the opportunity to let go of stuff, is to let go of what you no longer need. If you can't let it go, you're basically saying, I still need that. I still need that trauma. I still need that trigger. I still need that for this moment. And it's a big thing to because, like, if you've been bullied or worse, and things come up, and I'm not belittling, things that have happened to you, but the point is, if you're still alive and you survived them, you're bloody stronger than you realize, and you're tougher than you realize. And the biggest thing, when people have controlled you and manipulated you in the past, the biggest thing to do is to show, you can't control me anymore, you have no power over me anymore. That fear no longer exists. And that is how you rather than vengeance, the way to overcome a situation is if you can say that that no longer affects me. And the even tougher one, if you can forgive that let it go. You know, I forgive that situation now. I understand that what happened is you were in a mindset, you've done whatever you've done, but I forgive you now. I let it go. I forgive you. And also I forgive myself for holding on to that, for feeling that I wasn't worthy. And in in certain subjects, rape, and that's a big one. But I've had people who've got to that point. There's a woman I actually had on the Way of Conscious Mindfulness, Melanie Black, I think her name was, and one of the most powerful things that she did, and people struggled with it, is that she actually forgave the people who raped her, the people who gang raped her. She actually publicly forgave them, and she said, because by not forgiving them, they still control me, they still have power over me. And it's that is one. Forgiving other people is a big thing, but more importantly, depends on your point of view, but more importantly, forgiving yourself for allowing yourself that to happen. Because when that can also happen is that you then feel it must be my fault, it's something to do with me, that's why that happened. And no, things happen when they happen, but you have to forgiveness is the only way you can move forward. Otherwise it stays on your back, like the Buddhists will talk about the rucksack, and everything you hold, everything you keep in, it goes into that rucksack and makes your rucksack heavier and heavier and heavier. And you have to let it go and release these things to allow yourself to move on, move forward, and allow yourself to expand and grow. Oof, over to you, Doc.
Yeah, deep stuff, very serious, but very honest. There's a phrase that comes to mind, that a life that includes deep resentment can lead only to futility and unhappiness. And that's because we bury these resentments, we bury all this stuff. And there's another phrase, we are only as sick as our secrets. And what does that mean is that we spend a whole load of psychic energy keeping this stuff down because we can't face it. We can't face it, we can't bring it up, look at it objectively and let it go. And my feeling is that when we forgive, it's never for the other person. It's all for ourselves, because the hook's in us, and to let that go, to take the hook out and let it go and almost say, well, okay, I'm letting that go now and I'm letting them go. Let them get on with it. That frees us up, because Sifu, when I was on the drink, I used to be that drunk that I was beaten up many times by gangs of youths. I've had my nose broken, my cheek broken, my ribs broken. And I used to wake up, in the flat that I lived in, right? It was a right pigsty. It was horrible, and there'd be blood everywhere, and I couldn't remember, and I have vague recollections, and I was afraid to go out of the house in case I met these people and stuff like that. It was a horrible time of my life, and I suddenly had the realization that they're just young people. They're just showing off. And to pick on somebody like the village drunk that I was at the time, I can understand why it happened. I actually didn't behave like that when I was a teenager, but I'm not saying that if only they behaved like me I didn't behave like that because I was always afraid. And like your pathway has been very similar, no coincidences, very similar to mine. I was bullied at school, even though I was a big fella, and all that sort of business. On the inside, I was a tiny, frightened little child, and I used to make jokes, and I'd gang up or tag onto the bully of the school, and I'd basically be like his gopher, because if I did messages for him and ran and gave him presents and stuff, then he'd look after me, And this went on for a long time in my life, until I started like you. I learned a lot of different forms of Kung Fu, lots of different martial arts, and Wing Chun especially, full contact stuff and all that. And physically, I could handle myself. But when it came to the confrontation at an emotional level, I was still frightened on the inside. And that's because I wasn't dealing with the real stuff that was buried in me, And that's why I drank, because when I drank, it gave me an opportunity to be anesthetized from the stuff that needed to come up to be dealt with so that I could actually grow up. And that to me is what this ascension journey that everybody's on at the moment. It's about facing ourselves and growing through it. And like you said, when things come up, I believe that we can cancel them out by practicing the opposites of what the frightened child would do, you know. So I was brilliant at watching people's signs and ducking and diving and dodging and weaving, you know, to get out of trouble. But there's none of that anymore. I have to face stuff head on, you know, and I have to be honest about it. And if I don't know what to do, I'll say to people, I don't know what to do. And people say to me, well, you've got a PhD. You're supposed to be clever, you know, I've come to you for advice. Before, I would blag them and give them a whole load of mollycoddle and stuff like that, you know, and blag them. But now I say, I'm sorry, it's not my area of expertise. I don't know the answer to your question. And for me to come to that, that's like a bloody miracle for somebody like me. So I agree with you that everything's connected. What's going on in our mind, not only consciously, because we think our conscious mind sees everything. It sees less than 1% of what's really going on. I mean, the Hebrew Kabbalists, the old ancient Kabbalists, you know, they call this 3D world that we live in, the 1% world. There's 99% of stuff going on in quantum dimensions and different timelines that we've got no idea about, unless we start to tune in, like you said. The deeper you go into meditation, the more your expansion of consciousness, the more you can start to pick up these very subtle cues of the forces that have formed who we are. Bloody hell.
Woof, woof, woof. We're smoking on gas tonight.
We are. We are.
Yeah, and but this is, you know, it's the thing of actually, funny enough, on the tribe, I'll talk about that a little bit later, but the tribe, we have a different theme each month, and we're talking about boundaries. It's all about boundaries, and one of the Taoist philosophies is to let boundaries go, is to realize that, you know, the boundaries are what actually keeping you in, is that you know, they believe that, you know, the Tao, you and the Tao are formless, they're shapeless. It is not, you know, when you give it a form, you're actually restricting it. You're saying it has to be this. And this is the problem with, and like China, this is why Chinese is so interesting language, because the characters have different meanings. You know, this is why the Tao Te Ching, which was sort of like a, was the first official sort of like Taoist sort of book of philosophy, but there's over 28 different translations because in English, because each word means something slightly different. So it's your interpretations. You can interpret things in different ways, and it's the understanding that we are, as you said, you know, the certain thing. This is why I love the balance between science and spirituality that quantum physics show, you know, says that we only see less than 1% of this reality. And the ancients, as you say, they used to say, we're the 1% world. This is the one. There's so much out there, so much more than we can, you know, actually see, but we can perceive it when we start opening up our heart. They talk about, open up the third eye. Well, the third eye is the antennae. You know, that allows you, but it's through the eye and the heart that you then actually perceive more and more of this world in reality. And I know, well, I've you know, had this conversation with let's just say the alphabet agencies in the past, and I joked to this guy from something I something, I think there was a C and an A in it, but I joked with one of these guys. So when are you going to admit that the fairies, the Yeti, and unicorns exist? And this guy never joked. And he didn't joke. Not that this was a joke. He didn't joke. He said, we already know that they exist in different dimensions. And even back then, this was 90s, and they were saying there was at least 10 dimensions we're already aware of where they exist, and there are parts of the planet where it's thin enough for them to appear and just disappear. And then it was like, blimey, I didn't expect to get an answer, but it's, yeah, you know, and this is, you know, so we talk about fairies, unicorn, and yeah, but that's imagination. Where do you think that's come from? You know, imagination. You just made it up. Stories like Lord of the Rings, you know, even the Harry Potters. there is knowledge. There are people that say that the ancient stories, all stories, are worlds that exist, and that's there's an old saying. There's an old ancient saying that says that all stories are worlds that exist. So, the Harry Potter, the Lord of the Rings. Well, who to say that, to be there's so much detail in that story. Are you sure it's just a story? Are you sure one person just made that up? Because the amount of in depth. And when you have a dream, but I can smell it or I can touch. You sure you're dreaming? Because the Taoists would say that but the 1% is that the Taoists say the dream world is more real than this world.
Yeah.
That this world is the illusion, is the dream, because it's very hard to control things in this world. In the dream world, you can actually shape and shift things more, and they would say that's more. But they also said that's not the only world. There are many worlds. There are many realities, and they would say, a bit like the quantum physics, they would say the past, the present, and the future are all happening all at the same time. That there is actually no linear line. Everything is going on all at once. But the thing is that it wasn't until quantum physicists start saying this sort of stuff, and they start having, that matter can be in more than one place more at once, can both exist and not exist, that the observer affects the experiment, that you can split an atom and one will react before the other, and the one that you're about to tickle or touch, the other one reacts first. All of this, until the science can actually say what the ancients were talking about all along. It is that there's so much more out there than what we see. But what you have to do is stop saying I can't do this, or that's too hard for me to learn, or I'm too old to learn this, or I'm to do this. You're never too old. One step at a time. Go and especially at this moment in time, there are things that you've always wanted to do. Why aren't you freaking trying them? Why aren't you doing them? And it doesn't matter how good or bad you do them, because it's you. You do them for you. Don't do it for anybody else. You do it for you. So if you paint, I don't give a flying fig if somebody criticizes your painting. You're painting for you. You're not painting for them. You're painting for you. And if somebody can tape a banana onto a wall and get $10,000 for it, then your painting is freaking priceless. Okay, I'll just put it like that. Over to you, Doc.
I agree. In fact, I'm agreeing with you more and more as we're going on.
I know. I keep choking. What's going on?
Because my feeling is that we allow our soul to express ourselves, through our hands, through our heart, through our heads, rather than those things controlling us. We have to become master of those things. So the point is, like you said, I honestly believe that the heart is connected to 12 dimensions. It's connected to the 12 dimensions through the 12 cranial nerves. The 12 cranial nerves then connect to the 12 meridians, which then expand into universal connectivity. And I believe that we've got the ability now, if we work from the heart, which is basically the master vibration or the Christ consciousness, I believe that we can recruit these different disciples, or we can work on these different dimensions, because they represent potentials of what it is to be fully human. I believe that if we sit there and we practice all these different things, then we become a divine human, which is basically a whole human. But how do you do it? You sit down and you basically allow the heart, which is the master, to guide you into the actions you need to do next. And it's almost like the left and the right hemispheres, they're split down the middle. Although they're not split, they're connected by the corpus callosum and all that sort of thing. The point about it is there's a masculine and a feminine principle in all these disciples. There's no gender really. There's the split for convenience. There's the yin and the yang of it. But when the yin and the yang work harmoniously, right, there's a certain balance that takes place at the level of the heart. For those who want to know the technical, it's called sympathovagal balance. And we come out of what's called accentuated antagonism. That's where our hemispheres are knocking hell out of each other. And we come to the heart. And it's the heart, which is the golden child, which brings mum and dad back together again. This is the divine reunion of mum and dad basically being healed from the heart by the golden child. So there's all these metaphors that are coming in to say, you know, and this resurgence of the sacred feminine, right? I can see that the days of capitalism and patriarchy are numbered now, right? The sacred feminine is being allowed back now because the power of repression and control of the patriarch or the masculine side is diminishing. So there's an automatic balancing process. There's no fight going on. It's just a natural cycle that happens every 20,000 years and stuff like that, you know. So just relax, let go, trust the process because it's bigger than you. And here's what I've learned as well, more than anything else. It's harder to keep hold of something than it is to let go. It's the keeping hold of stuff that causes the pain, because let go is easy and the pain disappears. Over to you, old bean.
Well, yeah, that holding on, you know, imagine trying to hold on to, you know, a slippery a beach ball covered in oil. You know, you're desperately trying to hold on to it, and all that tension that you're using, you know, and that's that thing is, you know, is learning to let go and learning to you know, allow things to pass through. And you know, the one realization, one of my biggest realizations is that we spend so much life focusing on getting the next best thing that we miss the big thing that we're having right now. And you know, oh, you know, the next, focused on the next goal, or you know, or you know, people have, you know, a great night out, and oh, I wish I did that, and I wish, well, why didn't you? You know, live that moment when you're in that up. Live that. You know, there's a Taoist saying that you know, it's everything's ways of ups and downs, and when in the up, live in the up, love it, live it, enjoy it. Remember, you know, and some people even say that the Christian saying is actually older than that. You know, live every moment as if it's your last. Is that, you know, in that moment of true bliss and happiness, enjoy it. Don't be worrying about something else. Freaking enjoy it. And it took me a long time to figure that one out. I used to have this thing called the Boggie bashes, where we had ice skating parties, and there were blow up balloons on the ice and frisbees and balls, and there weren't rules, and it's based on Taoist principle, and basically all the management is, everybody's going to die and there's going to be dead bodies all over the place, and it never was, because when people are actually faced with chaos, they actually find their flow, they find their natural order, and it worked really well. But for the first 4 years, I was so worried about getting it right and making sure that things were happening in a certain way, or arguing with the management because they were trying to kick me out while the party's actually going on, that I never actually freaking enjoyed my own blooming party. And it took me, it was actually even longer than that. Ironically, it was the last two that we did. We did something like 14 or 15 in total. And the last two, I finally actually got it, that I'm actually meant to be enjoying it as well. That while it was going on, you know, I set all this up, I was supposed to be living, supposed to be enjoying the party as well. And it was that realization of, you know, when you're in your good time, enjoy that good time. Now, when you're in that low, remember the good stuff, but also remember the bigger the down, the bigger the up, the bigger the down, the bigger the up. And Taoistically, so that's him. So a lot of people call it yin yang. Its true name is Tai Chi, because it's this balance between the yin and yang. Now you turn it on its side and it's actually a wave. And the true balance is not a flat line or ripples, is that your aim is to actually, instead of having huge ups and downs, you want little ripples. So you live in that contentment. And when something is not quite right, yes, it's okay. It is what it is. But you know, sooner or later, you're going to get an up again. And you live in the ripples. And when you live in little ripples, everything starts to flow naturally. When you're living in a big wave, you know, think of yourself on big, huge waves in a ship. You're going to be thrown about, all about in that ship, and you're going to be battered and bruised. But if it's little tiny ripples, you're going to smooth sail it. You're going to sail smoothly, even. And that's the whole point is, try to aim for the, understand and appreciate, appreciate life as it is, but don't live for these massive ups. Live for those moments, live for everything being beautiful and being awesome, and enjoy little ripples, enjoy it in smaller doses. Let things just flow naturally rather than look for these massive ups. Because if you have a massive up, you need to counter it. So if you go to a big party, what I say, even if you don't drink, because a lot of people, if you have a party, when you drink, obviously you get hangover, but some people, there was a really good party and I'm on a massive down now, after the party. So, well, once you do the party, do a bit of Tai Chi, do a bit of meditation, Qigong. It's actually why nightclubs actually have green rooms or chill out zones, because they allow you to balance off so you last longer and spend more money. But it's this idea of, so from your massive up, spend a little bit of time just to chill out, read a book, allow yourself to back before you go to sleep. And that way, the next day, you're actually flattened that curve a little bit rather than this massive high and you go into this massive low. So it's understanding how to balance your energies and balance things. But the point is that if you're in a shit time at the moment, pardon my French, it will change. It always changes. It is universal law. It has to change. And when it changes, then then enjoy the up. If you're in an up right now, if everything's super freaking fantastic, then enjoy it and live it, and don't take it for granted, is what I'm trying to say. Is that, enjoy those moments. Back to you.
This too shall pass, they say, and believe it or not, this is exactly what happens at the level of the heart, because there's two wires, let's call them wires. There's a brake and the accelerator that goes to the heart. And as you breathe in, the accelerator goes on. And as you breathe out, the brake goes on. So if you can understand that by becoming aware of your breathing and becoming very, very intimately connected with the way that you're breathing, you can actually regulate your heart in a much more coherent way. So again, it's like Tai Chi. It's like waving hands in clouds. It's a positive emotion. So really, it's using movement and breathing and positive emotion to actually regulate the way that the heart's working, because the heart's like a great big magnetoelectric or electromagnetic motor sending waves back to the head. The waves that come from your heart are more powerful than the waves in your brain. And then you can send a positive, loving, open, gentle feeling back to your brain. Your brain waves will then entrain to what your heart's doing, rather than the other way around. And what we've been trained in the world is to try and make our brain waves keep our heart in place. And that's stopping now, because with this great shift in consciousness, heart power is beginning to ramp up and amp up more and more now. So the more that we let go, allow the heart to open and for the soul to express itself, then our brains and our heads will come under the mastership of what's supposed to be so the upside down world we're living in now is being turned topsy-turvy right way up. And I think that's that thing again, is that everything's moving, and like you said before, the wave goes this way, but also, Boggie, as you know, it goes the other way as well, because it can go in, because it's a sphere. And when we talk about the four corners of the earth or four directions, if we look at the globe as a representation of the way the heart works, we can go in any direction, up, down, north, northwest, south, southeast. They're the directions where these different disciplines will lead us. And so we get a whole sort of spherical global consciousness, if you like, that then connects with, there's microcosm, connects with universal consciousness, and then other universes as well. So everything's open to us by just surrendering to something that's much more powerful, much more wise. And basically, how do you surrender? You say, I really have got no idea what's going on. Will you please show me?
Or Boggie's, hey, what do I know?
Exactly.
I know nothing. I come from Barcelona. Nice ceiling.
See,
but it's letting go. It's allowing, it's like, there's always more. And I just wanted to quickly say is like, look, these symbols is the problem with symbols is we see them as two-dimensionally. We see them as flat, and they're not meant. That is a sphere. It's a sphere, and it goes one way, and then it turns in on itself and goes the other, as Doc was saying. And all of these, all ancient symbols are meant to be alive. They're meant to move. They're meant to interact. And when you meditate on them, that's what's meant to happen. That's how they knew you got it. When you say, well, actually, it's not this. Oh, that's not a square. That's a cube. Well, that's not a triangle. That's not a triangle. That's a pyramid. The Merkaba is two pyramids that turn around. The flower life turns in on itself and folds. And that's, we got to stop seeing these things as, knowledge, knowledge is just theoretical. No, there's a meaning behind it. There's knowledge has feeling, and there's practicality in that knowledge. This is why Taoism, when Taoism originally came to the West, they said, oh, it's very hollow, it's very empty words. And says, yeah, because all you're focusing on is the words. You're not doing the practices that go with the words. With Taoism, you get Tai Chi, you get Qigong, you get the Neigong, there's all these other practices, because words are not enough. It's very, to express Doc or Boggie, or even to express the world, to express the universe. Words isn't enough. You need to. There's more than just that. This is why a song, even just like classical music, for some people, classical music can move people to tears. Can really open their hearts, because sound and vibration is more than just words. And frequency is more than just, it's so much more. And trying to describe things is like pointing the finger towards the moon. Don't look at the finger, because you'll miss all that heavenly glory. What he said. Bruce Lee got it from the Taoists anyway, but anyway, it's all good. Yeah. But it's the whole point is that there's so much more, and you've got to there's so much more, and you've got to open up to it. And I just like one thing you were saying about people waking up right now, and this is why the Schumann residents, that there was moments where people were meditating, since COVID, and the Schumann residents has been going off the chart, because when people work as a collective, we wake things up, we stir the universe itself, because we are meant to be a collective. We're meant to work together. When we're all when we're against each other, or thinking that, or I don't believe you because of this or that, when we're fighting against things, we stay disconnected. Everything that, even quantum physics, there is known, came, I think, from the 70s, was the field that they knew, that the field that exists. So there's this energy that exists between everything, every single atom, every single us. There is something that flows through us, around us, is part of us. We are all interconnected, and this is when you start affecting you'll affect the outside world. When you start working on you'll affect the outside world. When you forgive yourself, you can, other things will be forgiven, other things will be let go. It's work. You are the universe. You are your own creator. You are, and I know still there are certain people go, oh no, will oppose that thought, because it's scary, because of the idea of that you are in control of your reality. Well, we are all in control of the reality. What happens in your body, you are the one most in control of that, unless you give it to, no offense, Doc, unless you give it to a doc, unless you give it to a doctor, unless you give it to somebody else, when you know best. When you give your power away, you'll lose your energy. But when you take it back, and it's not about doing it and taking it back in an aggressive way, but when you say, no, I'll do this, thanks, or no, or yes, I want help, but let's do it together. Or, it's taking responsibility for yourself, your own emotions, your own actions, your own reactions, because everything is you. But hey, what do I know? Back to you, Doc.
Final words, and then I'll have to go. So
cool.
I believe totally that this is about something called collective individuality. There's no standard approach. We've got to work with something that allows for limitless expansion. And limitless expansion means that all the limits, all the structures, all the forms are let go of for the soul to create something new. It's not about turning round and fighting with what's gone before, because it's like shadow boxing, because that was formed from past consciousness. What we see now in front of us is actually the past. We're looking at the past because it's a manifestation of all the thoughts and actions that have gone on beforehand. So to forget the past is to just create and basically just allow expression of unconditional love to work us, work through us, and create what's coming up next, you know. And if we do it with an open and flowing heart, it's guaranteed to be beautiful, you know. But if our head comes in to edit what's going on based upon some sort of a standard or an expectation or an idea, we're just going to fall back into the same old revolution, and we'll miss the point of evolution. And the thing about evolution is, its creativity is not imitation. It's not doing something that's been done before and refining it. It's actually creating something totally novel, totally new. But you might say, well, what is it we're doing? Just open up, dance, sing, allow the heart to play its tune, right? Or the soul to play its tune. And you do the same, which will be a slightly different vibration. But in the end, if we allow the souls to play our bodies and our instruments and our nervous systems, then it'll be perfect harmony. There we are. I feel like the Pope. Bless you all in nomine Patris.
I mean, your son, yes, sir. I mean, yes, right, very quick. We had the wonderful Morgan on. I don't know if she's still on, but I saw Morgan a while ago. She's on. We've got loads of comments. Molly Duran says, love this. You fellas just need a couple of wizard hats. Don't give me any ideas.
Just wait till the light language starts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
We'll do that next time.
We'll do that. We'll definitely do that next time for sure. Yeah, there was loads of comments. So, Will, before I know you've got to go. So, how can we get hold of you, Doc? I know you have your own show. So, where is it, and how do we find it?
Well, the I Am Connection Live. I've got a YouTube channel called the I Am Connection Live. I've got no time, unfortunately, to do any one-to-one stuff. I'm just too busy with other stuff at the moment. But my view is, I'm hoping because the feeling is to lessen the amount of academic work I'm doing and do more of this stuff, really. So then I'm sort of trying or being moved in a different direction, you know. And I do feel in the future that we'll meet up again, you, me, and Shanine, and we'll be on a stage somewhere or at a place somewhere where we can physically meet and we can, you know, get up to the tricks that we normally do. But yeah, I've got a Facebook page. It's just Joseph Delaney, or Dr. Joe Delaney, and also a YouTube channel. And anybody else that knows me.
Yeah, and there you go. And if you haven't looked at his stuff yet, I strongly think you should. And then we actually have we've got a thing called the Tribe TV, because we sort of myself, Krista Higginbotham, Eva, also known as Cheetech, and also Robin McClendon, we sort of came together and created Tribe TV. And Tribe TV is sort of like Gaia. We have lots of spiritual shows. I do a couple of Qigong classes. We do a couple of different card readings. Robin McClendon does channeling the Gaia energy. We also do a show called The Mother, the Dragon, and the Wu Chi, which is a very cool show, I must say. And yeah, so we do we do 38 shows each month. Also is One Moment in the Tao, which is me walking along talking about Taoist philosophy while in the hood, like I do. And those 38 shows for $10 a month we do to pay for that, and it just pays for all the little things that we do on there. And we've done it private because I used to say a lot of stuff on Facebook and YouTube and get myself banned. So nowadays we try to the stuff that we talk about sort of is helping mind, body, and spirits. Sometimes it talks about COVID. Sometimes we talk about other stuff. And so we made our own channel, so it gives us a little bit more freedom. But the whole point of the tribe is to help build up each other and help you grow. So somebody or myself will put the link down there below. So for $10 a month, you get 38 shows plus 400 shows already recorded in the library to watch. So if that interests you, go and have a look at that. And anything else, you can always just message me or message here on the Way of Conscious Mindfulness. So that's it. So it's goodbye from myself, Sifu Boggie. It's goodbye from this chap here, the awesome, the marvelous, the absolutely amazing Dr. Delaney.
Boggie, it's lovely to be up with you again, mate. So hopefully we can do one of these every month or something, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Yep, we'll do indeed. So everybody else, see you later. Take care. Bye for now. Love, Chi, and Shen from me and Dog. Bye for now. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.